My mother was a force of nature. Everything about her exuded a sense of joy, a downright pleasure of just being alive. She was a wild thing. I adored her. Everybody did, except my aunt, my father's sister, who we all called Zitsy. I heard Zitsy whispering with her friends about my mother being extravagant. I was only 5 years old, so I didn't know what that meant, but I got the idea that it wasn't good. One day, my mom came home from the hospital with a new baby. I went to hug her, but she pushed me away. Everything changed. Our house with the front door opening and closing and tons of people visiting, partying, laughing, drinking, suddenly went dead silent. My mother had retreated to her bedroom and made it clear that she didn't want to see or speak to anyone. My father tried hard to engage her, but to no avail. My older sister did her best to take Mom's place, but mostly scolded me to be quiet and stay out of Mom's bedroom. But I had to see my mother. So I snuck in when no one was looking, and I saw her sitting on a bedroom chair in her red silk nightgown, staring out the window. She didn't seem to see me or hear me when I tried talking to her. She just kept staring out the window. A couple of days later, my Aunt Zitsy came to pick me up. She said I was going to live with her for a while. I thought, great. I love Zitsy and loved even more her pear pancakes, which I knew she would make for me anytime, day or night. She often asked me if I loved her best. The way she made desserts, I had to say yes. After a month of sugar delirium, I became homesick. I thanked Zitsy, and my father came and brought me home. My mother was the same as when I had left. My older sister told me that our baby brother never got any breast milk, only milk from a bottle because Mom didn't have any milk in her. Like I knew or cared what a breast was. She also told me that Mom was suffering from a sickness some women get after having a baby. If the baby made Mom sick, why don't we get rid of the baby? We can't, stupid. You can't just get rid of a baby. Then came a miracle. One afternoon, I peeked through the keyhole of my parents' bedroom, and I saw a beautifully dressed woman sitting next to my mother, speaking to her. My mother wasn't staring out the window or looking like a zombie, no. She was listening to her. After the woman left, my mother came out of the bedroom and quietly made dinner. We all knew not to talk, but we ate with a feeling of hope. The next morning, my mother was making breakfast and singing. Singing! It was weird, but we smiled and she smiled back. It's terrible to say this, but the only good thing about my mom being sick was being spared listening to her sing. She always sang with gusto and always terribly off-key. Although things seemed better, I still felt uncertain. The following morning, I watched my mom pulling clothes out of her closet. I ran to my sister. "Mom's leaving us!" She hit me over the head as she usually did. "She's going to work, stupid." She explained work to me, and I kind of got it. I watched my mother dress in her very best navy blue blouse and suit, watched her slip on her blue high heels, put on lipstick, her pearls, grab a handkerchief, and smile to herself in the mirror. She was her old self. "I'm going to work. I'll be working every day but Saturday and Sunday. You'll be at Zitsy's house until your sister comes to pick you up. I'll be home by 4 o'clock. I love you, darling. I love you." How could she change so? How could she be two different people? Much later, I found out that Zitsy's friend, the woman who sat with my mother, had a connection with a woman's designer clothing company, Fred A. Block Originals. She knew my mother had a special talent for decorative embellishments on clothing and arranged a job interview for her. And of course, my mother was hired. But there was one talent my mother had that impressed me most: her courage. I was about 5 or 6 years old when I heard a thunderous banging on our front door. My mother already knew who it was. She had already alerted the police. She opened the door and stood, arms akimbo, legs spread apart in defiance, as this man was screaming at her for his wife and children to come home. Everyone in the neighborhood knew this man was a monster who repeatedly beat his wife and 4 children. They had bruises enough for proof. As he was screaming at my mother and threatening her, she declared, "Your wife and children are staying in my house. The police are on their way." Shortly after, the police arrived and took him away. Our little family was in love with this strong, kind, and generous woman who always encouraged me to be myself and to follow my dreams, however wild or conventional they may be. And if there was anyone I listened to, it was my extravagant and amazing mother. I would live my life to the fullest and be like her, a force of nature. My sister and I believed our mother had magical powers which enabled her to predict the future. She'd have these frightening dreams and then warn us to be especially careful. "I had a bad dream last night. Don't cross any streets today." "Any street, Mom?" "Don't be sarcastic, Rosemary. Just don't cross any streets." "Why? I don't know. Dreams don't come with much information." She had 2 eyes in front and 2 eyes behind her head. She saw all that was happening and some things that were about to happen. She loved working at that high fashion company, Fred A. Block Originals, which afforded easy access to downtown Chicago, discounts on elegant clothing, shopping at Fields, and lovely lunches with friends in the Walnut dining room. She left for work at precisely 8:30 in the morning and got back home at precisely 4:16 in the afternoon. She never varied from that schedule. Never. It was Christmas vacation, and it was 11 in the morning. I was a senior in high school, and I was in my bed, under the sheets, naked. I was also a virgin. I had been waiting that morning with paralyzing expectations. What began as an earth-shakingly exciting, monumental realization of my longing and yearning had become a complicated situation. "Rosemary! Rosemary!" A plaintive voice came from behind my closet door. Plaintive was not what I expected from Eddie. He stuck his head out from my closet door, and I saw that he had wrapped my winter coat around his naked body. Eddie and I had been in love with each other since 2nd grade. Through the years, we had hugged, kissed, and touched most every part of each other's bodies, short of sticking our fingers up each other's noses. We had reached the unbearable need to go all the way or choke to death. We were virgins gone amok. I had been waiting for Eddie to come out of that closet for what seemed like forever. He said he had to be alone first before we made love. "What is it, Eddie?" "I'm trying, Rosemary, I'm trying." "Well, try harder and get on with it, Eddie." Yeah. I knew what he was doing, but I didn't understand why it was taking so long. In the movies, the guy just jumps in. Eddie was a freshman in college, and like me, had never gone all the way. I'd never loved anyone like I loved Eddie. Still, I was losing patience. Then, I heard him curse in anger, a level of anger I'd never heard before. "Jesus, shit, damn it! I got knots in my boots that I can't unlace! Goddamn boots, I can't even tear them off!" "I don't care, Eddie. Just leave the boots on and get into my bed. I can't wait any longer." God damn, Bo, the boots are covered in mud, for Christ's sake! Mud! Then I heard it. Oh my God, I heard it. The sound, the distinctive sound of red high-heeled shoes. The sound like a roar signifying my imminent death. She entered. My mother. "What are you doing in bed at this hour?" she said in a matter-of-fact way. Barely audible, I said. "Sleeping." "I'm telling a lie to a woman who communicates with hidden wires from outer space." She repeats my words with the same matter-of-fact intonation. "You're sleeping." She tossed the blankets off and saw that indeed I was naked. "You're sleeping and you're naked." There was something about her in this moment, something cool that made me feel doubly threatened. I knew this mother, knew her well. She was leading me on, and I was headed to my grave. "I took my pajamas off because it was so hot in the house. The radiators were really cooking. Why are you home at this time? You're 3 hours early." She smiled what seemed like an ordinary smile. She said she asked her boss if she could leave work early to go do some Christmas shopping. No, she didn't ask her boss. No, she wasn't going Christmas shopping. No. She said, "You have company?" "Huh?" I said, pretending I didn't understand. My heartbeat was so loud I thought Mrs. Keating next door could hear it. I felt the blood drain away from my body as I stuttered, What are you talking about?" "Eddie, come on out." That's what she said. I was stunned. What are you saying, Mom?" She opened the closet door, and there was Eddie, hiding his nakedness buried in my old winter coat. My eyes were closed, but I heard him bravely say, "Hi. This isn't what it looks like." My mother said in the most casual manner, "Hello, Eddie. Why don't you come all the way out of the closet and dress up rather than being squeezed into Rosemary's old coat?" Eddie, totally embarrassed and still in his dirty boots, flung my coat off while at the same time shielding his privates. Mothballs came flying out of the coat pocket. Eddie fell to his knees while still hiding his privates as he began picking up mothballs. "Should I put them back in the coat pockets?" "Leave them, Eddie. Leave them. Rosemary will pick them up. Leave them. Did you come protected today, Eddie?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. Dress up as quickly as you can and be on your way. Oh, and give my regards to your mother, Eddie, and wish her a Merry Christmas." When Eddie left, I quickly slipped into my bathrobe and started picking up the mothballs. My mother left the room and never said another word about it. She left early from work knowing she should go home. Those mystical messaging signals were operating that day. At dinner that night, she was herself, full of stories about work, the downtown decorations, and drinking her favorite red wine. Happy. Christmas morning found me emptying my Christmas stocking. Mothballs. She laughed a wicked laugh while the rest of the family was consoling me. They never knew until much, much later. "You'll need those mothballs for your old winter coat. The one in your closet, you know. I don't know what happened to the ones that were there." And then that laugh of hers, that surprised laugh of hers. I begged her once when she was very old to tell me how she always knew what was happening. She said she couldn't explain it, but didn't like it. It's not good knowing too much. And then there's a lot to be said about just plain observation. For instance, if a stranger is in the house and he leaves his jacket and his hat and his school books on the living room couch and he isn't in the living room, bathroom, kitchen, you know what I'm saying? And then she laughed. That distinctive laugh, her head tossed so far back it was almost like whiplash. After she retired from Fred A. Block Originals, she walked 2 miles a day. She died at 96 in her own bed, clutching a box of Marshall Field's turtle candies. And she was goddamn beautiful right to the end, even with a part of a turtle candy stuck in her mouth. married, although I wasn't able to say I do. Nobody noticed. I just couldn't say it. It had nothing to do with the man I was marrying. God bless him. Poor guy. Pregnant. That was a shock. Never expected it, which was just another indication of my being unprepared for the real world. Then there was my husband, a man who lived wholly in the real world who said we had to have a doctor. That seemed reasonable. I agreed with the provision that it would have to be a natural childbirth. I had to know what was going on, never trusting doctors, hospitals, or medicine. We only had one problem. We didn't have any money. None. He just got off military service and I had just graduated from college. He said it didn't matter. What mattered was having the best baby doctor in Chicago. So he called the University of Chicago where he got his master's degree. He was given a name and a number. When I heard Michigan Avenue, I knew we were in trouble. I hesitated to enter this stately building on Michigan Avenue, but he shoved me out of the car and insisted I see the doctor. The elevator took me to a floor that led straight into bronze double doors. Sitting in a casual pose were women of obvious wealth, their mink coats thrown on with little regard. I was wearing one of my plain blue washable cotton pregnancy outfits. They looked at me. I just smiled. They smiled back, the way one does with a certain wisp of pity. I waited for what seemed like eternity. The nurse kept looking at me with disdain. I just smiled. After the last patient left, she said, without looking at me, "The doctor will see you now." There I was, standing in front of this very handsome doctor who was staring at me, either as shocked as I was or amused in this totally puzzled way. As soon as he dismissed the nurse, I began talking. It was more like babbling. "I'm sorry I'm here because, well, it's not my doing. My husband insisted I have the best doctor, and, well, you see, I appreciate your seeing me, but the thing is we have no money. I mean, none. I'm embarrassed, and I don't want to take up your time, so really, thank you very much. Your office is beautiful, by the way. Goodbye." He said, "Stop talking and sit down." And then, the miracle. For reasons I'll never know, he said he was going to be my doctor. When I started to say we had no money, he said, "Stop talking. The wealthy women that you saw in the waiting room will be paying for your baby. They won't know it. I could charge them $1 million and they wouldn't know it. And you're going to have weekly natural childbirth classes. Now go, little Irish girl, go. But leave me your name and number. I'll call you by the end of the week." And he kept calling me little Irish girl. Of course, he didn't know my maiden name is Pellegrini, but I wasn't about to correct him if his affinity for the Irish was going to get me all this for free. And he delivered her, a breech birth, and I got to watch it as it was happening. He was the best doctor. While I was recovering in the hospital, I received a number of magazines from friends and relatives. I went from hospital room to hospital room and sold the magazines at half price. It was good. I had this new baby and a few extra dollars. I was a mother. Be damned if I knew what that was. My sister said you had to have a layette. Be damned if I knew what a layette was. She paid for all the things you need for a newborn. I didn't know what half the things were for. I was a mother. Poor child. I was nursing and wondering how long this beautiful creature was going to keep sucking my tits. Jesus, she was hungry. I didn't know babies were so needy or needy so often. So I passed some of the duties to the husband, who swooned at the prospect of bathing and feeding and playing games and making babies laugh. He once confessed that he envied my being pregnant, that he would have loved to be a mother. I told him I wished he was too, because he was a hell of a lot better at it than I. But then it happened. It began with this little baby girl crying in the middle of the night. When I tried to go to her crib, my husband forbade me. You don't want to start a routine that is not good for you or the baby. If you pick the baby up, you'll start spoiling her and your sleeping days will be over. This man I adored was the firstborn of 7 children. He knew babies, he knew everything. And so I would hear her cry and stay in bed until I couldn't resist going to her. So when he was totally asleep, I would creep out of bed and go to her. It was barbaric to allow a creature brand new to the world to be left alone crying. So I went to her, and I told her about myself. I told her about my favorite poets, the Cavalier poets. I told her that I do my best to be a good mother, but she shouldn't count on it. She opened her eyes, and I swear she smiled. She knew. And we have been not just mother and daughter, but something bigger, something more complex. Best of all, she's a lady who doesn't scold when I say fuck or lack other respectable women's behavior. And we admire each other. She grew up to become a poet. The best. Spoken like a mother. What's a mother? Someone who stood in front of the minister and never said, I do. Someone who never thought she could, but did. I am like my mother before me, a life force to be reckoned with.